Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of the New Horizons, watching the strange ship approach through the vast darkness of space. The alien vessel looked like a giant crystal flower, its translucent petals catching the light from the nearby star. After 3 years of deep space exploration, this was humanity's first contact with a new intelligent species. Dr. Elena Rodriguez adjusted her translation equipment for the 10th time in 5 minutes. Her hands shook slightly as she checked the universal translator. This is it, Jake. First contact with the Kaleri. Everything we say and do in the next few hours could shape relations between our species for generations. Jake nodded, straightening his diplomatic uniform. He had been a Marine for 8 years before becoming a cultural liaison officer. Fighting aliens was something he understood. Talking to them was still new territory. What do we know about them? Again, they're insectoid, but peaceful. They communicate through harmonic frequencies as well as spoken language. Their society values family bonds above everything else. And Jake, they're bringing a child. The docking bay filled with a soft, musical humming as the Kaleri ship settled into place. The airlock hissed open, and 3 figures emerged. Jake had seen the images from the long-range scans, but seeing them in person was different. The Kaleri stood about 7 feet tall, with thin, graceful bodies covered in iridescent chitin that shifted from blue to green in the light. Their wings were folded against their backs like stained glass windows, and their large compound eyes reflected everything around them. The leader stepped forward. Her translator device spoke in clear English. I am Zephyra, speaker for the Kaleri. Council, we come in peace to meet the humans. Behind her, a much smaller figure clung to her leg. The child was about the size of a human 6-year-old, with the same beautiful coloring as the adults, but with tiny wing buds that hadn't fully developed. Yet, its large eyes darted nervously around the room. Welcome to the New Horizons, Captain Morris said, stepping forward with a formal bow. We are honored by your visit. Dr. Rodriguez activated her equipment, and the room filled with a gentle harmonizing sound that seemed to please the Kaleri delegation. The child's antennae perked up slightly, and it made a soft, chirping noise. This is my offspring, Nim, Zephyra said, her hand resting protectively on the child's head. Among our people, important meetings include the young ones so they may learn the ways of diplomacy. Jake watched the little alien with interest. It reminded him of his nephew back on Earth, the way it stayed close to its mother, but kept stealing curious glances at the humans. Without thinking, Jake smiled and took a step forward, extending his hand in the universal gesture of friendship. He had learned worked with most species. The reaction was immediate and catastrophic. The child let out a piercing shriek that made every human in the room wince. Zephyra's wings flared wide, and her harmonic voice rose to an almost painful frequency. The other Kaleri adults moved quickly to form a protective barrier around the child. Stay back. Zephyra, as translator, crackled with static as her distress affected the signal. We know what humans do to offspring. We will not let you harm him. Jake stopped dead, his hand still extended. What? I was just trying to be friendly. I wouldn't hurt a child. But the Kaleri weren't listening. Zephyra had scooped up her child and was backing toward the airlock. Her compound eyes were fixed on Jake with unmistakable fear and anger. The Vorthan Empire warned us about your species. They told us humans consume the young of other races. They said you take children for your genetic experiments. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward, her hands raised peacefully. That's not true. Humans protect children. We would never harm a young one. Lies, one of the other Kaleri delegates hissed. The Vorthans showed us evidence. Images of human facilities where alien children are kept in cages. Reports of missing younglings from worlds where humans have visited. Captain Morris tried to maintain diplomatic calm. I assure you, Those reports are false. The Vorthan Empire has been spreading propaganda about humanity to prevent peaceful alliances. We are not a threat to your children. But Zephyra was already activating her communication device. Emergency departure. Code red. The humans are trying to take Nim. They... Little alien child clung to its mother, its color patches flashing rapid patterns of distress. It kept looking back at Jake with wide, terrified eyes, as if he were some kind of monster from its worst nightmares. Jake felt sick to his stomach. He had dealt with hostile aliens before, but this was different. These weren't warriors or conquerors. They were just parents trying to protect their child from what they believed was a real threat. Please, let us explain. Let us show you who we really are. No. Zephyra's voice carried a harmonics of absolute finality. We have heard enough human lies. The Vorthans were right. Your species cannot be trusted around the innocent. The Kaleri. Delegation rushed back to their ship, leaving the humans standing in shocked silence. Through the observation windows, they watched the crystal flower ship undock and begin to pull away. Damn it, Captain Morris muttered. 3 years of peaceful exploration, and our first diplomatic contact ends like this. Dr. Rodriguez was frantically working at her console. I'm detecting unusual energy readings from their ship. Something's wrong with their navigation system. On the main screen, they could see the Kalari vessel beginning to list to one side. Sparks flew from damaged sections of its hull. The ship had undocked too quickly, damaging critical systems in their panic. To escape. Their engines are failing, the navigation officer reported. They're being pulled into the planet's gravity well. Jake watched in horror as the beautiful ship began its uncontrolled descent toward the planet below. He could imagine Zephyra trying to keep her child calm while their ship fell apart around them. The child who was afraid of him was about to die because of a misunderstanding. Launch rescue shuttles, Captain Morris ordered. All available craft. Captain, Dr. Rodriguez said quietly, even if we reach them in time, they won't accept our help. They think we want to hurt their child. The truth of her words hit everyone in the room. The Kalari would rather crash than accept rescue from what they believed were child-eating monsters. Jake watched the ship's trajectory on the tracking screen, calculating impact sites and survival possibilities the way his marine training had taught him. I'm going down there, he said suddenly. Jake, no. It's too dangerous, and even if you survive the trip, they won't trust you. Maybe not, Jake agreed, already heading for the shuttle bay. But that kid doesn't deserve to die because some warmongers spread lies about us. I'm not going to let fear and propaganda kill an innocent child. Not on my watch. As he prepared the rescue shuttle, Jake could see the Kalari ship's final moments on the monitor. It struck the planet's surface in a flash of light, sending up a pillar of smoke and debris. Somewhere in that wreckage was a frightened child who thought humans were monsters. Jake launched his shuttle toward the crash site, determined to prove that sometimes the monsters were actually the ones trying to help, even if the child never understood. Even if he was too late, he had to try. It was what humans did. It was what made them different from the lies others told about them. The planet's surface rushed up to meet him as he began his descent into the unknown. Jake's shuttle touched down near the smoking wreckage of the Kalari ship. The crash had torn a deep scar across the rocky landscape, leaving pieces of crystalline hull scattered for hundreds of meters. He grabbed his emergency medical kit and scanning equipment, then stepped out into the thin atmosphere of the planet. The air was breathable but cold. Jake pulled his jacket tighter as he approached the main section of the crashed vessel. The beautiful crystal petals that had made the ship look like a flower were now broken and dim. Emergency lights flickered weakly inside the twisted metal framework. Hello? Jake called out, knowing they probably couldn't understand him without the translator. "Zephyra, I'm here to help." He heard a faint sound from deeper in the wreckage. Following the noise, Jake climbed through a gap in the hull. Inside, the ship was a maze of broken equipment and fallen debris. The harmonic humming that had filled the air during their meeting was replaced by sparking electronics and the groan of stressed metal. Jake found Zephyra pinned under a heavy beam near what looked like the ship's control center. Her beautiful, iridescent shell was cracked, and a dark fluid that might have been blood pooled beneath her. Her compound eyes focused on him with effort. "Stay away," she whispered through her damaged translator. "Don't hurt Nim." "I'm not going to hurt anyone," Jake said gently, kneeling beside her. He could see the beam across her chest was too heavy for him to move alone. "Where is your child?" Zephyra's eyes flickered toward a twisted section of corridor. "Hidden. Safe. From you." Jake wanted to help her first, but he could see she was dying. The dark fluid was spreading, and her breathing was becoming shallow. "Let me get Nim. Let me help." "Promise me," Zephyra gasped. "Promise you won't eat my child." The request broke Jake's heart. Even dying, this mother was trying to protect her young from what she believed was a monster. "I promise. I swear on my life, I will not hurt Nim. I will protect your child." Something in his voice seemed to reach her. Zephyra's trembling hand pointed toward the back of the ship. "Hidden panel. Behind the food storage. Tell Nim ... Her translator crackled and died as her strength faded. "Tell Nim Mama loves ... The light faded from her compound eyes. Jake closed his own eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of the promise he had just made. Then he stood and made his way toward the back of the ship. The hidden panel was exactly where Zephyra had indicated. Jake found the release mechanism, and the panel slid open to reveal a small space filled with soft material. Curled up inside was Nim, the little Kaleri child. The young alien was unconscious, but breathing. Jake reached in carefully and lifted the child out. Nim was lighter than he expected, and he could feel the delicate structure of the wing buds folded against the small back. The child's color patches were a dull gray instead of the bright blues and greens he had seen before. "It's okay, little one," Jake said softly, even though he knew Nim couldn't understand. "You're safe now." Nim's large eyes opened and immediately filled with terror. The child began to struggle weakly, making distressed chirping sounds. Jake held on gently but firmly as he carried Nim back to his shuttle. "I know you're scared," Jake said as he secured the child in the passenger seat. "I know you think I'm a monster, but I promised your mama I would take care of you." During the flight back to the New Horizons, Nim huddled in the corner of the seat, watching Jake with frightened eyes. Every time Jake moved or spoke, the child would flinch and make those heartbroken chirping sounds. Dr. Rodriguez was waiting in the medical bay when Jake arrived with Nim. "How is the child?" "Physically unhurt as far as I can tell," Jake said, gently lifting Nim from the shuttle. "But scared out of his mind. The mother didn't make it." Elena activated her translation equipment and spoke in soft Kaleri harmonics. Nim's antennae perked up slightly at hearing familiar sounds, but the child still pressed away from both humans. "The child is malnourished," Dr. Rodriguez reported after running her scanner, "and showing signs of severe stress. We need to figure out what Kaleri children eat, and fast." Jake looked down at Nim, who had wrapped thin arms around his own small body and was rocking back and forth. "What do we know about their diet?" "From the cultural files, adult Kaleri consume a mixture of organic compounds and crystalline minerals. But young ones might be different." They tried offering Nim various foods from the ship's stores. Human foods, alien delicacies they had collected from other worlds, synthetic nutrients. Nothing worked. Nim would sniff each offering, and then turn away, becoming more listless with each rejection. "There has to be something," Jake said, frustrated. He had been trying for 6 hours, and Nim was getting weaker. "Check the wreckage. See if there's any food storage left intact." Dr. Rodriguez took a team back to the crash site, while Jake stayed with Nim. The child had fallen into a restless sleep, curled up in the corner of the medical bay. Jake sat nearby, watching the slow rise and fall of the small chest. "I don't know what to do, kid," Jake said quietly. "Your mom trusted me to take care of you, but I don't know how." When Elena returned, she was carrying several crystalline containers. "I found these in what looked like a food storage area. They're filled with different types of mineral crystals." They offered the crystals to Nim one by one. The child showed no interest until Jake held up a small blue-green crystal that seemed to pulse with inner light. Nim's antennae shot up, and, for the first time since the crash, the child showed signs of excitement. Nim grabbed the crystal with both hands and immediately bit into it. The mineral crunched between small teeth, and Jake watched in amazement as the child's color patches began to brighten from gray to pale blue. "That's it," Dr. Rodriguez breathed. "That's what they need," but their relief was short-lived. Jake counted the remaining crystals of that type. There were only 3 left, and Nim had already eaten one completely. "How long will these last?" Jake asked. "Based on the child's size and metabolic rate, maybe 2 days. We need to find more." Jake studied the crystal under a microscope and ran. Spectral analysis. It's a complex mineral formation with a specific harmonic frequency. The planet's surface is rich in similar materials, but finding the exact type could take weeks. "We don't have weeks," Dr. Rodriguez said, watching Nim slowly nibble on the second crystal. Jake made his decision. "Then I'll have to search faster." 4. The next day and a half, Jake made trip after trip to the planet's surface. He explored caves, climbed rocky formations, and collected every crystal sample he could find. Most were wrong. Some made Nim sick when tested. Others had no effect at all. On his 7th trip, Jake was deep in a crystal cave when his scanner finally registered the right harmonic frequency. The walls around him glowed with veins of the blue-green mineral Nim needed. He spent hours carefully, mining enough crystals to last weeks, maybe months. When he returned to the ship, Nim was weak and barely conscious. The child had refused to eat the last crystal, saving it with an instinct that broke Jake's heart. Jake knelt beside the small alien and offered a fresh crystal. Nim's eyes widened with surprise and hope. As the child ate, color returned to the delicate features, and the antennae straightened with renewed energy. "That's better, isn't it?" Jake said gently. For the first time, Nim looked directly at Jake, without immediately flinching away. The child still seemed afraid, but there was something else in those large compound eyes now. Maybe the beginning of trust. Dr. Rodriguez watched from across the room. "Jake, I think you just became a parent." Jake looked down at the little alien, who was now holding on to his sleeve with one small hand while eating with the other. He thought about Zephyrus' dying words and the promise he had made. "Yeah," he said softly. "I guess I did." Jake turned his small quarters into a makeshift nursery for Nim. He moved his military medals and personal items to make room for the supplies the child needed. The crystals were stored in a temperature-controlled container, and Jake had rigged up a series of colored lights that he hoped would make Nim feel more at home. The little Kalari child sat in the corner, watching Jake's every movement with large, cautious eyes. 3 days had passed since the rescue, and while Nim was eating the crystals regularly, the child barely made any sounds and never moved far from the corner. Dr. Rodriguez visited every few hours to check on them both. "Any progress?" she asked. During her evening rounds, Jake shook his head. "Nim eats when I offer food, but that's about it. No communication, no play, nothing. It's like the kid is just existing, not living. Elena activated her portable scanner and studied the readings. The physical health is improving, but these emotional indicators are concerning. Choleric children need more than food to thrive. According to my research, they require something called emotional harmonics. What does that mean? It's hard to translate exactly, but it seems to be a form of emotional connection, like how human children need love and affection to develop properly. Choleric young need to feel emotionally bonded to their caretakers. Jake looked at Nim, who was carefully arranging small crystal fragments in precise patterns. How am I supposed to bond with a kid who thinks I might eat him for dinner? Patience, Dr. Rodriguez said, and maybe try doing normal things around. Nim, let the child see you're just a person, not a monster. That night, Jake tried to follow Elena's advice. Instead of sitting quietly in his chair, he moved around the room doing everyday tasks. He organized his clothes, cleaned his equipment, and read reports on his tablet. Nim watched everything with intense curiosity. When Jake started humming while he worked, Nim's antennae perked up for the first time. The child tilted his head, listening to the melody. Jake noticed the reaction and kept humming, choosing a simple tune his mother used to sing to him. The breakthrough came on the fourth night. Jake was sitting on his bunk, trying to repair a damaged datapad when he heard a soft sound from Nim's corner. It was a melody, but unlike anything Jake had ever heard. The notes seemed to float in the air, creating harmonies that made the room feel peaceful and warm. Jake stopped working and listened. The song was beautiful and sad at the same time. After a few moments, he realized what it was. Nim was trying to teach him something. Is that a choleric song? Jake asked gently. Nim stopped singing and looked at Jake with surprise. Then very slowly, the child nodded. Jake smiled. Can you teach me? What followed was the most awkward music lesson in human history. Nim would sing a phrase, and Jake would try to copy it. His human vocal cords couldn't produce the exact harmonics, but he did his best. Every time Jake tried to sing along, his attempts were so bad that Nim's color patches would shift to what Jake had learned was amusement. The sound Nim made when amused was like tiny wind chimes in a gentle breeze. It was the first time Jake had heard the child make a happy sound. I'm terrible at this, aren't I? Jake said, laughing at his own poor performance. Nim's chiming sound grew stronger. The child stood up and walked closer to Jake for the first time since the rescue. Pointing at Jake, Nim made the chiming sound again and then attempted to mimic Jake's human laughter. Are you laughing at me, kid? Jake asked, grinning. Nim nodded enthusiastically and made the chiming sound again. For a moment, the fear was gone from those large compound eyes, replaced by something that looked almost like friendship. The next day brought disturbing news. Captain Morris called Jake to the bridge for an urgent meeting. Long-range sensors are picking up ships approaching. Our position, the captain said, pointing to the tactical display. Fourth and Empire vessels. 3 warships and what looks like a command cruiser. Dr. Rodriguez pulled up intelligence files on her console. The Vorthans are the ones who spread the lies about humans eating alien children. They've been working to isolate Earth from potential allies. Why are they coming here? Jake asked. According to intercepted communications, they want to claim this planet for its mineral resources. The same crystals that Nim needs to survive are apparently valuable for Vorthan weapons technology. Jake felt a cold anger building in his chest. So they destroy a peaceful first contact, get an innocent mother killed, traumatize a child, and now they want to steal the kid's food source? That about sums it up, Captain Morris said grimly. They'll be here in 18 hours. Jake returned to his quarters to find Nim building complex patterns with crystal fragments. The child looked up when Jake entered, and for the first time, Nim's color patches showed pleasure at seeing him. "Hey there, buddy," Jake said, kneeling down beside the crystal patterns. "What are you making?" Nim pointed to different parts of the design and spoke in rapid Kalari. Jake couldn't understand the words, but the tone was excited and happy. The child was sharing something important. Dr. Rodriguez arrived with her translation equipment just as Nim finished explaining. "The child is showing you traditional Kalari protection patterns," she said after listening to her computer's analysis. "These designs are supposed to keep families safe from danger." Jake looked at the intricate crystal arrangements with new understanding. "You're trying to protect us?" Nim nodded seriously and pointed first to Jake, then to himself, then to the protection pattern. The message was clear. "We are family now. I want to keep us safe." The simple gesture hit Jake harder than he expected. This little alien child, who had lost everything and had every reason to hate humans, was trying to protect the person who had saved him. "Thank you, Nim," Jake said softly. "That means a lot to me." That evening, Jake tried to explain what was coming. Using simple words and gestures, he told Nim about the approaching Vorthan ships. He showed pictures of Vorthan soldiers and tried to convey that these were the bad people who had lied about humans. Nim's reaction was immediate and intense. The child's color patches flashed rapid patterns of distress, and he made sounds that Jake now recognized as fear. But instead of hiding in the corner like before, Nim moved closer to Jake. "You're not afraid of me anymore, are you?" Jake asked. Nim shook his head and then did something that surprised Jake completely. The child reached out and took Jake's hand in both of his small ones. Nim's skin was warm and smooth, and Jake could feel a faint vibration, like a gentle electrical current. Dr. Rodriguez, who had been quietly observing, made an excited sound. "Jake, look at your scanner readings. Nim is creating an empathic connection with you. That's the emotional harmonics I was talking about. The child is bonding with you." Jake looked down at their joined hands and felt something he had never experienced before. It was like a warm glow in his chest, a sense of complete acceptance and trust. He understood now why Kalari children needed this connection to survive. It was like emotional food, as necessary as the crystals. "I feel it too, buddy," Jake said to Nim. "You're safe with me. I promise." Nim's response was to begin humming the lullaby again, but this time Jake could follow along better. Their voices, human and alien, blended together in a harmony that filled the small room with peace. Outside, the Vorthan fleet drew closer, but inside Jake's quarters, a former Marine and a scared alien child were becoming something neither of their species had seen before. They were becoming family. As they sang together, Jake realized that the Vorthans had made a serious mistake. They had expected to find humans who were monsters and aliens who were victims. Instead, they were going to find a father who would do anything to protect his child. And Jake Morrison was going to show them exactly what that meant. The Vorthan fleet arrived exactly when predicted. Jake stood at the observation window, with Nim perched on his shoulders, watching the dark warships take positions around the planet. The child's small hands gripped Jake's hair gently, and he could feel the warm vibration of Nim's contentment despite the danger outside. "Big ships," Nim said in carefully practiced English. It was one of the first human words the child had learned. "Yes, buddy. Big ships with bad people," Jake replied, reaching up to pat one of Nim's hands. "But they can't hurt you while I'm here." Over the past week, their daily routine had become as natural as breathing. Jake would wake up to find Nim arranging crystal patterns beside his bed, always including a protection design for both of them. They would share breakfast, with Jake eating human food while Nim crunched on the blue-green crystals. Then Jake would spend the day teaching Nim simple English words while learning basic Kalari phrases in return. Dr. Rodriguez entered the observation lounge with her latest reports. The Vorthans are demanding we turn over any alien survivors from the crash. They claim it's for the child's own protection. Jake felt Nim's grip tighten in his hair. The child understood enough to know they were talking about him. What did Captain Morris tell them? That there were no survivors. Technically true, since Nim is under human protection now, not stranded. Jake Papa, Nim said softly, using the name he had started calling Jake 3 days ago. Scared. Jake lifted Nim down from his shoulders and held the child close. The empathic connection they shared let Jake feel Nim's emotions directly. The fear was there, but it was mixed with trust and love. Nim was afraid of the bad ships, but not afraid of being with Jake. I know you're scared, Jake said gently, but remember what Mama Zifra taught you. Family protects family. Nim nodded and made a soft harmonizing sound that Jake had learned meant agreement and comfort. The child had been teaching Jake more about Kalari culture every day, sharing memories of life with his mother through pictures drawn with crystal dust and simple words. The communication system crackled to life. This is Commander Thax of the Vorthan Imperial Fleet. We know you have the Kalari offspring aboard your vessel. Surrender the child immediately, or we will take it by force, Captain Morris responded calmly. This is Captain Norris of the Earth vessel New Horizons. We have no Kalari prisoners aboard this ship. Do not lie to us, human. Our sensors detect Kalari life signs on your ship. You will hand over the child, or we will board your vessel and take it. Jake felt his old marine instincts kicking in. These weren't diplomats or traitors. They were bullies used to getting their way through threats and violence. But they had never faced a human protecting his family. Elena, take Nim to the secure cabin we prepared, Jake said, passing the child to Dr. Rodriguez. I need to talk to the captain. Jake Papa, no go, Nim said, reaching back toward him with both arms. I'm not going anywhere, little one. Jake. Promised. Dr. Elena will keep you safe while I make sure the bad people can't hurt you. Nim's color patches shifted to the pattern Jake had learned, meant worry mixed with trust. The child knew something dangerous was happening, but believed Jake would handle it. Jake found Captain Morris on the bridge, preparing defensive measures. Captain, I want permission to speak directly to the Vorthans. Jake, that's not a good idea. You're emotionally involved. Exactly. They need to understand what they're dealing with. They think they're facing humans who are afraid of them. They need to know they're facing a father protecting his child. Captain Morris studied Jake's face and saw something that made him nod. Go ahead, open the channel. Jake activated the communication system. Commander Thax, this is Jake Morrison. I'm the human who has been caring for the Kalari child. Ah, the child keeper. You will bring the offspring to our ship immediately. The Kalari are under Vorthan protection now. The child's name is Nim, Jake said, his voice deadly calm. And Nim is under my protection, human protection. If you want to take my child, you'll have to go through me. There was a pause, then harsh laughter from the Vorthan commander. Your child? Humans do not adopt alien offspring. You keep it as a pet or a meal. We know what your species does to young ones. Then you know nothing about humans, Jake replied. Let me explain something to you, Commander. 3 weeks ago, I watched Nim's mother die trying to protect her child from lies your people spread. I promised a dying mother that I would keep her baby safe. I've spent every day since then learning how to be the parent Nim needs. Jake paused, thinking about everything that had happened. I've learned to sing Kalari lullabies, even though I sound terrible. I've mined crystals in dangerous caves, because that's what Nim needs to eat. I've learned to read color patterns and harmonic frequencies. I've stayed awake nights when Nim had bad dreams, and I've celebrated when the kid learned new English words. Human lies, Commander Thax snarled. You cannot fool us. I'm not trying to fool anyone, Jake said. I'm telling you the truth. Nim is my child now, not by blood, but by choice, by love, by the promise I made to a dying mother. And if you think you can just take my kid because you have bigger ships, you're about to learn something very important about humans. What is that? We don't abandon our children. Ever. You want Nim? You'll have to kill me first. And even then, every other human on this ship will fight you to their last breath. That's what family means to us. The channel went quiet for several long minutes. When Commander Thax spoke again, his voice was different, less confident. You would die for an alien child? Without hesitation, Jake said immediately. Just like Nim's mother would have died for him. Just like any parent would. Die for their child. The fact that you have to ask that question tells me everything I need to know about your people. Jake Papa! Nim's voice came from behind him. The child had broken away from Dr. Rodriguez and run to the bridge. No fight bad people alone. Nim climbed up Jake's leg and into his arms, then did something that surprised everyone on the bridge. The child began to glow. Not just the color patches, but his whole body, with a soft blue-green light that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Dr. Rodriguez checked her scanner and gasped. Jake, Nim is broadcasting an empathic signal. Every species within range will be able to feel what the child is feeling right now. Jake could feel it too. Through their connection, he experienced Nim's emotions as clearly as his own. Love. Absolute, complete, trusting love. The kind of love a child has for a parent who makes them feel safe and wanted. The kind of love that crosses species barriers and proves that family is about choice, not genetics. Commander Thax, Jake said quietly, I'm sending you sensor readings of what's happening on our bridge right now. Every ship in this system can detect what you're seeing. An alien child who loves his human father so much that he's willing to share that love with the universe. The communication channel remained silent. This is what you tried to destroy with your lies, Jake continued. This is what you called impossible. A human and an alien child who chose to be family. You can attack us, but you can't change what everyone can see and feel right now. Nim looked up at Jake with those large compound eyes and spoke in perfect English. Jake Papa is best Papa. Keep me safe. Love me much. Then the child switched to Kalari and began broadcasting harmonics that needed no translation. The message was simple and pure. This is my father. He protects me. He loves me. I am safe. Throughout the system, on ships of a dozen different species, beings felt that broadcast and understood exactly what it meant. The first ship to respond to Nim's empathic broadcast was not what anyone expected. A massive Kalari vessel dropped out of hyperspace, its crystal hull gleaming like a jewel against the stars. It was 3 times larger than any ship in the Vorthen. Fleet and beautiful beyond description. Incoming transmission, the communications officer reported. It's from the Kalari ship. Captain Morris nodded. Put it through. The voice that came through the speakers was similar to Zephyr's, but older, with deeper harmonics. This is Fleet Commander Trillana of the Kalari Defense Forces. We felt the harmonic broadcast from this system. We demand to know what has happened to our missing diplomatic mission. Jake stepped forward, still holding Nim in his arms. The child was tired from the emotional broadcast, but alert and curious about the new arrivals. Commander Trillana, this is Jake Morrison. I'm the human who has been caring for Nim. Nim? The voice carried surprise and hope. Nim is alive? We mourned the loss of Zephyr's ship weeks ago. Nim is safe, Jake said gently. But Zephyr didn't survive the crash. I'm sorry. The silence that followed was filled with grief harmonics that made everyone on the bridge feel the weight of loss. When Trillana spoke again, her voice was heavy with pain. Zephyra was my sister. How did her child survive? Jake told the story quickly, from the first disastrous contact through Zephyra's dying request to his promise to protect Nim. As he spoke, Nim added soft harmonics that Dr. Rodriguez's equipment translated as agreement and comfort sounds. You are saying a human has been raising a Kaleri child? Trillana asked, disbelief clear in her voice. Jake Papa is good Papa, Nim said in Kalari, his small voice carrying clearly through the communication system. Makes me safe, learns my songs, finds my food, loves me much. The silence that followed was broken by Commander Thax's angry voice. Do not listen to these lies. The humans are obviously conditioning the child to say these things. This is exactly the kind of manipulation we warned you about. Commander Thax, Trillana said coldly, you will explain why Vorthan ships are threatening a vessel carrying my nephew. Your nephew is being held prisoner by child-eating monsters, Thax replied. We are here to rescue the offspring from these humans before they harvest it for experiments. Jake felt his anger rising, but Nim's small hand on his cheek calmed him. The child could sense his emotions through their bond and was trying to comfort him. Let me show you who the real monsters are, Jake said quietly. He activated his personal recorder and began playing back the conversations from their first meeting. The recording clearly showed Zephyra's fear and the source of her beliefs about humans. The Vorthans told us humans consume the young of other races, Zephyra's voice played back. They showed us evidence. Images of human facilities where alien children are kept in cages. Trillana's response was sharp with anger. You showed my sister false evidence? You made her believe humans would harm her child? We showed her the truth about human nature, Thax insisted. They cannot be trusted with alien offspring. Then explain this, Jake said, activating the visual feed from his quarters. The screen showed weeks of recorded interactions between him and Nim. Jake learning to sing Kaleri lullabies, the child teaching him protection patterns, quiet moments of reading and play, Jake patiently mining crystals while Nim waited safely in the ship. The recordings showed Jake's clumsy but determined efforts to understand Kaleri culture. They showed him weaving traditional protection braids in Nim's sensory filaments before sleep. They showed him creating games that helped develop Nim's natural abilities. Most importantly, they showed a scared alien child slowly learning to trust and love his human caretaker. This is impossible, Commander Thax said, but his voice had lost its certainty. No, said a new voice. Another ship had arrived, this one bearing the markings of the Altarian Republic. This is exactly what we have seen from humans before. More ships began dropping out of hyperspace. A Centauri medical vessel, a trading ship from the Spiral Confederacy, even a research station from the distant Helix Nebula. Representatives from dozens of species were answering the call of Nim's emotional broadcast. One by one, they began to share their own stories. Dr. Kent from Altair told of the human doctor, who had spent months learning their complex reproductive biology to save a dying hatchling. Captain Czar from the Spiral Worlds described the human engineer who had worked tirelessly to perfect atmospheric processors for their gaseous children. The humans on our worlds have become teachers, added Professor Thiel from the Helix Research Station. They developed new learning methods specifically designed for our crystalline younglings. Our children learn faster and better because of human innovation. Commander Thax's protests became weaker with each story. These are isolated incidents, not representative of the human species. Are they? Trillana asked. She had been listening to everything while her ship moved closer to the new horizons. Commander Morrison, would you be willing to bring Nim to my ship? I want to see this bond for myself. Jake looked down at Nim, who was listening to everything with wide, understanding eyes. What do you think, buddy? Want to meet your aunt? Nim's color patches brightened with excitement. Yes, want to see family. The shuttle ride to the Calari. Ship was peaceful. Nim sat in Jake's lap, pointing out the window at the beautiful crystal hull of his people's vessel. When they docked, Trillana was waiting for them. She was larger than Zephyra had been, with darker markings and more elaborate wing patterns that showed her rank. But her eyes held the same intelligence and warmth. When she saw Nim, her whole body seemed to glow with joy. Little star, she said in Calari, kneeling down to Nim's level. You have grown so much. Nim ran to her, but then stopped and looked back at Jake with uncertainty. The child was torn between happiness at seeing family and worry about leaving his human father. It's okay, Jake said gently. Go hug your aunt. I'm not going anywhere. Nim flew into Trillana's arms, and she held him close while harmonizing a traditional greeting song. But after a few moments, Nim pulled back and took Jake's hand, pulling him closer. This is Jake Papa, Nim announced proudly in Calari. He sings terrible songs, but loves me good. He is my family too now. Trillana looked at Jake with new understanding. She could see the deep bond between them, could feel the child's absolute trust and love for his human guardian. She could also see Jake's protective stance, the way he positioned himself to keep Nim safe even among the child's own people. In our culture, Shalana said slowly, the bond between chosen family is considered stronger than biological ties. We believe that those who choose to love across all differences have the purest hearts. She stood and faced Jake directly. You kept my sister's child safe when we could not. You learned our ways to care for him properly. You gave him love when he had lost everything. By our laws and customs, you are truly Nim's heart father. Heart father? Jake asked. One who chooses to love a child not born to them. It is the highest honor we can give. Jake felt tears in his eyes as he understood what she was offering. Does that mean ... It means Nim belongs with you, as long as that is what you both want. And it means you'll always be welcome among the Calari people as family. Jake knelt down to Nim's level. What do you think, little one? Do you want to stay with me? Nim's answer was to throw his arms around Jake's neck and begin harmonizing the lullaby that had first brought them together. This time, Jake's voice blended perfectly with the child's, their bond making the harmony complete. Around them, representatives from a dozen worlds witnessed something unprecedented. A human and an alien child who had proven that love could cross any barrier, overcome any prejudice, and create families that were stronger than blood. The Vorthan fleet left without another word, their lies exposed and their propaganda shattered by the simple truth of a father's love for his child. Later, as Jake tucked Nim into bed in their quarters on the New Horizons, the child looked up at him with sleepy contentment. Jake Papa, Nim, said softly, We are real family now? We always were, buddy, Jake replied, gently brushing the child's antennae. From the moment I promised your mama I would keep you safe. Family isn't about where you come from. It's about who chooses to love you. Nim's happy harmonics followed Jake as he dimmed the lights, and throughout the ship, the crew could feel the peace and contentment that comes from knowing that sometimes the best families are the ones you choose.